Let's talk a bit work-life balance, shall we? A Gen Z buzzword catapulted into mainstream consciousness as a result of the COVID pandemic. The aim is to bridge the gap, of course, between what is seen as an unhealthy and unrealistic work culture and being able to fully switch off after work hours, a feat in itself, of course, in this social media age. Has all of this debate, though, gone too far? Some people are taking it to heart too much. Some 481,000 people aged 16 to 24 are currently unemployed, while a whopping 280,000 now rely on some form of unemployment benefit. And with the trend for, quote, lazy girl jobs taking off on TikTok, meaning a low-stress, fully remote job with little oversight and a good salary. Here's a lazy girl at work. Is this younger generation idle, or are they onto something? Well, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by trade unionist Andy McDonald and former star of The Apprentice and columnist Ryan Mark Parsons. Gentlemen, thank you both. And you know what I like about having this conversation with you both is the easiest way to have this conversation is to bring somebody from an older generation to debate with somebody of a younger generation. But we've deliberately brought in two Gen Zs this evening to debate this from both sides of the coin. But in terms of the way that Gen Zs are portrayed, sometimes as being lazy, work shy, I hate to use the word, but quote unquote snowflakey. Do you think that's fair, Andy?
No, not at all. I don't think so. You know, for what they've been given, you know, the education system over the last 10 years has pushed more and more people into university. So you're seeing a later pipeline for people to have jobs. You know, normally people would go to school, leave when they were 15 or 16, and then go and work a trade. Now it's even longer. You know, they'll go school until they're 18, then university until they're 21 or 22. So it's just a longer pipeline. And when you go to university and you go and have these degrees, they expect more. They don't want to be working, you know, on construction sites or being a plumber. They want to go and do these big fancy jobs. So I don't think they are snowflakes at all. I think having a healthy work-life balance is a perfectly reasonable thing to demand.
Do you think there's been a difference in the way that people are approaching work, Ryan?
Yes, I just think generally a lot of people my age, well, our age, are quite apathetic, and I think there is a general laziness. And I just feel like there's an instinctive reflex to perhaps resort to crying for help for mental health support when they can actually be working. And as you were saying at the start with the stats, 480,000 people, 16 to 24, are out of work, 280,000 of which are claiming some kind of benefit. I think that really speaks for a lot of apathy amongst young people, and that's something that I don't resonate with. And you can't be surprised by the Treasurer calling out for people to fill 1 million jobs that aren't currently being filled. And that's why we're seeing this perennial issue of immigration, where there's about 700,000 people in 1 year migrating to the UK because there aren't young people willing to work and do those jobs that we need from outside of this country.
Andy, is that fair? Are people just not wanting to work?
Well, no, so, you know, that's 16 to 24. So when you're 16 to 18, you're not actually allowed to work full-time. You've got to be either in full-time education or in part-time education. So that statistic is flawed. And then, you know, 18 to 21, how many of those people are at university? You know, people are studying full-time, so they can't really have other jobs sometimes. You know, universities like Cambridge University and St Andrews don't actually allow you to have jobs. So, you know, that statistic is flawed.
There's about 3 universities that don't allow you to work. Sure. Oxbridge and St Andrews, that might be the case. But there's all of the other universities where you can have a job. I don't think we should be excusing that. There's a very small caveat. But I just generally think, maybe because of the pandemic, and also from an early age in schools, there seems to be this narcissistic culture of victimhood that we're breeding in this country. And it sort of goes to this therapeutic state, which is often referenced, where we are just allowing people to claim mental health issues and to say they've got anxiety and depression and stress, and therefore they can't work. I've got friends my age that can't even go to interviews because they're claiming they're too stressed to go to an interview.
So
what's that all about?
That encapsulates very much where a lot of the narrative comes from on this, is that the younger generation are now just too fragile to work. It's this whole sort of therapized place, as you say. Do you think it's just more awareness of mental health issues, or do you think it's more mental health issues?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, mental health identification tactics in the medical profession have improved vastly over the last decade. You know, when people started finding out about cancer, more people started dying of cancer. So, you know, now that people are finding out more about mental health and identifying the ways that it presents itself, particularly in women, you know, before it was mainly just seen as presented in males, but, you know, you look at autism, that has add-on effects with anxiety and potential ADD. That's mental health. It comes under mental health. So obviously, when there has been progress in discovering it, there are going to be more cases. But, you know, there hasn't been the support to back that. You know, in the education system, more people are committed, more school children are killing themselves than ever before. So clearly there is a crisis in this country, a mental health crisis. And to say, oh, you're just being snowflake, you're just being weak or lazy, is incredibly dismissive and quite toxic.
Ryan, toxic?
Well, I didn't really care. I mean, I remember when I was at school...
You don't care about kids killing themselves?
No, I didn't say. I don't really care about people constantly complaining and resorting to mental health as a reason to get out of work. I even remember when I was at school, the teachers were saying, oh, we should be victims of, you know, you might be a victim of sexism or ageism or homophobia or whatever it is. But I think what's happening now, we're finding a growing number of young people in education are being taught that we should be victims of things. And I think that really goes against what Britain stands for. What about bravery and everything else that we once stood for? Stiff upper lip.
How would you fix it? How would you fix it then, Ryan?
I would say that it should start in schools. I mean, that's what we should be promoting, a sense of bravery that we once stood for in this country, a sense of a stiff upper lip. But now we just go to, oh, well, you might have stress issues, you might have anxiety, you might have depression. And these are things that people fall back on, and therefore they step out of work because they can't do certain things. They can't go out and talk to another human being. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we're fostering this kind of narcissistic victimhood culture in the UK.
Andy, how do you feel about this characterisation of Gen Z?
I think it's a very bizarre rhetoric, if I'm honest. You know, it sounds great.
How's
You know,
it
the sound
bizarre?
bites are
How's it
fantastic. But I mean, clearly, you know, there are more school children killing themselves than ever before. That's an undeniable statistic.
And
You know,
what's causing that?
There's a lack of support for people with genuine mental health issues. That's what it is. You know, you're saying all this, you know, kind of culture wars, everyone's
I think
weak,
there's a lot of support, actually.
You know, clearly not.
I just think that we're fostering this victimhood, and that's perhaps why we're seeing this that number increase.
Not at all. It's because we've got an NHS that doesn't actually cater for mental health services as well as it should, because there are, you know, a wide, short supply of professionals in the industry.
I just think young people need
there is
to...
not the support there for young
it's
people.
whining like this that doesn't help.
Whining about children killing themselves.
Young people just need to get up and go to work and stop being so lazy.
Andy McDonald, Ryan Mark Parsons. Some salient points made by both of you, some good passion as well. Thanks so much for coming in this evening.